All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling the Book of Exodus.
But not just the usual Sunday school version.
Yeah, we're going deeper. Like, what can Exodus teach us about our own lives, you know?
Exactly. It's really a blueprint for any major life change.
I mean, I think most people know the basic story.
Right. But there are so many layers we often miss.
So, like, what kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, for starters, the word Exodus itself is key. It literally means departure. And that idea of leaving something behind, it's universal, isn't it? We all experience those Exodus moments.
It's like leaving a job, a relationship.
Exactly. Or even leaving behind old habits, ways of thinking that are holding us back.
Okay, I'm starting to see it. So it's not just about the Israelites fleeing Egypt. It's about any time we step out of something familiar into the unknown.
You got it. And those moments, they can be scary, exciting, overwhelming.
Totally. And I think that's what makes Exodus so relatable, even thousands of years later. It's like this ancient guidebook for navigating change.
Right. And it's packed with these almost unbelievable coincidences, moments that make you wonder if there's something bigger at play.
Yeah, like that whole thing with Moses being put in a basket on the Nile.
That's a great example. The Hebrew word for that basket, it's the same word used for Noah's Ark.
Wait, seriously, I never knew that.
It's like God is creating this mini recreation of the flood story, but this time it's about individual salvation.
Okay, that's giving me chills. It's like God is saying, I'm working behind the scenes, even in these seemingly small details.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where do we see those winks from God in our own lives? Those moments that feel almost too perfect to be random.
Yeah, that's something to think about. It's like maybe we need to pay more attention to those little details, those unexpected turns of events.
Because they might just be pointing us in the right direction, guiding us through our own personal exodus.
Okay, I'm officially hooked on this deep dive, but we can't talk about Exodus without talking about the plagues, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there's a lot more to them than just, God showing off his power.
Yeah, I've always been kind of curious about that. Like, why those specific plagues?
Each plague was a direct challenge to a specific Egyptian god. Remember, Egypt was a polytheistic society. They worshipped all these different deities.
Right.
So by undermining the power of each god, God was essentially dismantling their entire belief system.
Wow. So it wasn't just about freeing the Israelites. It was about this cosmic showdown between the God of Israel and the gods of Egypt.
Exactly. A clash of worldviews. And it makes you think, doesn't it, about what we might be elevating to God status in our own lives.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. Like money, success, even technology can become these idols we worship.
Right. The things we put all our faith in, even when they might not be so reliable.
So the plagues are like this wake-up call to question our own idols.
Yeah.
What are we giving our ultimate allegiance to?
Exactly. And sometimes letting go of those false gods, it's the first step to true liberation.
Wow, this is already blowing my mind. It's like every detail in Exodus has this deeper meaning, this connection to our own lives.
And we're just getting started. But the granddaddy of all Exodus moments has got to be the parting of the Red Sea, right?
Oh, yeah. That's got to be a tough one to apply to everyday life.
Well, think of it this way. The Red Sea represents those moments when we feel completely stuck, like there's no way out.
Okay, yeah. Those oh crap moments that leave you feeling totally powerless.
Exactly. But the Red Sea story tells us that even when we can't see a way forward, there might be a path we just haven't seen yet.
So it's about having faith, even when things look impossible, trusting that something bigger is at work, even if we don't understand how.
You got it. It's about surrendering to the mystery, to the possibility of the impossible.
So the Red Sea isn't just about a miraculous event. It's about that internal shift from fear and paralysis to hope and trust. Wow, I never thought of it that way.
It's about tapping into that deeper level of faith and resilience we all have within us, and realizing that sometimes what seems like an insurmountable obstacle is actually an invitation to grow.
Okay, this deep dive is seriously changing my perspective on Exodus. I can't wait to see what other hidden gems we uncover.
Oh, we've only just scratched the surface. Next time, we'll explore the wilderness experience, the manna, the 10 Commandments.
All right, listeners, get ready for part 2. We'll be back to explore even more mind-blowing connections. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, deep divers. Last time we were right there with the Israelites watching that Red Sea part.
Talk about an epic escape, right?
Seriously.
Yeah.
But now they're in the wilderness, free, but kind of lost.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what now? That wilderness experience, though, it was actually crucial for them.
How so?
Well, think about it. They went from total control, like slaves, to suddenly being responsible for themselves.
Yeah, that's a huge adjustment.
It was a time for them to, I don't know, figure out who they were now. Not slaves anymore, but a new nation.
Like a total identity shift.
Exactly. And that's not easy, especially when you're out in the desert, hungry, thirsty, no clue where you're going.
Yeah, GPS back then, that's for sure.
And that's where the manna comes in. This, like, bread from heaven appearing every morning.
Okay, yeah, I remember that story. Miraculous, right?
Totally. But it wasn't just about, like, filling their stomachs. It was about something deeper.
Oh, I bet you're going to say it was symbolic.
Well, yeah. Think about it. They had to wake up each day not knowing if there'd be food, having to trust that God would provide.
So it was a daily lesson in faith.
Exactly. It was about letting go of control, relying on something bigger than themselves.
It makes me think about how we try to control everything,
All the time. But what if we, learn to let go a little, trust that things will work out?
Manna for the soul. I like it.
And here's where it gets even more interesting. That manna, it foreshadows Jesus.
Whoa, wait. How so?
Jesus calls himself the bread of life. Right? So you have the physical sustenance of the manna in the desert. And then you have the spiritual sustenance that comes from Jesus.
It's like this continuous theme of provision running through the whole story, physical and spiritual.
Exactly. Pretty mind-blowing when you think about it that way.
Okay, speaking of mind-blowing, we got to talk about the 10 Commandments, right?
Oh, yeah. Those are kind of a big deal.
Seriously. But they're more than just a set of rules, aren't they? It's like this agreement.
Right. It's a covenant between God and his people.
Okay, I vaguely remember learning about covenants in Sunday school.
Think of it like a promise. Both sides agree to something.
And with the 10 Commandments, it's like God promises to take care of them, but they got to follow the rules.
Exactly. It's not just about obedience, though. It's about relationship.
That makes sense. So covenants, they aren't just some ancient thing, are they?
Nope. We see covenants all the time in our own lives.
Really? Like how?
Well, think about marriage or even a friendship. You're making promises, right?
I guess so, yeah. It's like unspoken agreements.
Right. To be there for each other, to support each other, that's a form of covenant.
Wow. Never thought of it that way.
It's all about trust and commitment. And when those things are strong, you build really amazing relationships.
Okay, I'm totally digging this covenant concept.
But you know what kind of throws a wrench in the whole covenant thing? That golden calf incident.
Oh, yeah. What was up with that? Like they just seen all these miracles and then, bam, golden calf.
Talk about bad timing.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, it kind of does when you think about it. They were impatient.
Okay, yeah, waiting in the desert for who knows how long.
They wanted instant gratification, something tangible to believe in.
So they were like, screw it, we'll make our own God.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're all guilty of that sometimes, aren't we? Choosing the quick fix over the long-term goal.
Oh, totally. Like, how many times have I blown off a workout to watch Netflix?
We all have those golden calf moments where we choose instant satisfaction over something more meaningful.
It's like those shiny distractions that get in the way of the real journey.
Exactly. But real growth, real freedom, it comes from trusting the process, even when it's slow, even when it's hard.
Okay, this is deep stuff, and I'm loving it. But wait, we haven't even talked about Moses seeing God's glory.
That's right. And that encounter, it's a powerful lesson in approaching the divine. But for that, you'll have to wait for part 3.
Okay, deep divers, we're back. It's the final part of our Exodus journey.
And trust me, we've saved the best for last.
I'm kind of still buzzing from that whole covenant thing.
Yeah, it really makes you rethink how we approach relationships.
Totally. But now I'm really curious about that whole Moses seeing God's glory thing.
Yes. That's a moment that's always fascinated me, too.
It's like full of mystery and power.
Well, it's one of the most profound moments in the entire Exodus story.
So fill us in. What's the big deal about Moses seeing God's glory?
It's not just about seeing, it's about understanding how we approach the divine. Remember, Moses actually asks to see God's face.
Yeah, bold move, right.
Right. But God knows that no human can actually handle that.
Yeah.
It would be too much.
So it's like some things are just beyond our comprehension.
Exactly. So instead, God places Moses in the cleft of a rock and covers him with his hand as his glory passes by.
Okay, that's a pretty intense visual.
It is. And then God reveals himself to Moses, but not through a physical form.
Oh, so how does God reveal himself?
Through his attributes: merciful, gracious, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. The good stuff.
Okay, so it's not about seeing with our eyes, it's about experiencing God's qualities, his essence.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our human minds, they can only grasp so much.
Like trying to fit the ocean into a teacup?
Perfect analogy. Sometimes the most profound encounters, they happen not through sight, but through feeling, through intuition.
It's about being open to how God chooses to reveal himself to us, however that may be.
You got it. Surrendering to the mystery. Trusting that we're being guided, even when we can't see the full picture.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to spirituality.
I know, right? It's pretty amazing stuff.
Okay, but before we wrap up, we have to talk about one more thing. The renewal of the covenant.
Ah, yes. After that whole golden calf mess.
Seriously, I would have been like, okay, I'm done with these guys.
Right. But that's the amazing thing about God's grace. Even after they totally messed up, God still chooses to renew the covenant.
He gives them a second chance, a fresh start.
It's like that unconditional love we all crave, that acceptance that says, hey, you screwed up, but I still believe in you.
That's powerful. And it's something we all need to hear sometimes.
Absolutely. In a world that's so quick to judge and condemn, it's a reminder that forgiveness and reconciliation are always possible.
Okay, I think my brain is officially full. This deep dive has been incredible.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who knew Exodus had so much to teach us about life, faith, relationships?
Seriously, it's like this ancient roadmap for navigating the human experience.
And the best part is, it's a journey we can all take, no matter where we're starting from.
So, dear listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge. What would your personal book of Exodus look like?
What are you ready to leave behind? What promised land are you moving towards?
Take some time to reflect on that. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself embarking on your own personal Exodus.
A journey of liberation and transformation that leads you to, well, to your truest, most authentic self.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. And remember, the journey is just as important as the destination.